an ambush.
How many did you save?
Just like a dream.
You did the only thing you could do. And you lost.
Like a dream.
Look, we're still in this thing.
The day you walked away.
But we have no idea what we're dealing with.
Unfortunately.
Things are getting worse around here, aren't they?
Boyd, we're out of food.
Too many things are changing here. I have to remember.
Remember what?
What's missing?
Nothing that I've been through is possible.
I think you're here for what's in the basement.
This place will not break us. We can still win. But the only way we go home is together.
Hello. Go! The game here is rigged. Why can't they leave us alone?
No matter what this place throws at us, we're gonna find our way home.
Everybody just talks about how afraid they are of dying. Well, I don't think that's the worst thing that can happen to you here. Hello?
Like a dream.
You looking for these?
Into my life.
You can't save them all.
But things are really how they seem.
Wow. Thank you guys for joining. Of course, it's a great time to be a From fan. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody. I see so many people in the chat. Go ahead and say hello. Hello, Linda. Thank you so much for joining. It's great to see you. Hello, Geek Girl. Very happy to see you. Frederick Hadzabe, good to see you. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody. I hope you guys got your thinking caps on. This week, I tried to switch it up a little bit and change a little bit of the trivia, but I'm really excited. Episode 3 was all that and a bag of chips. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And of course, I would love to hear what you guys thought about episode 3, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But right now, let's get into some of the trivia and let's go right into the trivia. Now, I had to take the music out because I got a copyright violation on the last one. But of course, just in your minds, right? Picture the music from K Sarah from the intro. Okay, with each slide, I had it set up for each one. So let's see. Let me just bring this up. So look, guys, while I'm bringing this up, the chat is live. Go ahead and put what you guys think about this episode 3. Was it what you've been looking for? Did you guys feel like you got the answers? Was it missing something? And of course, what do you think is going to happen in episode 4? And what was your biggest aha moment that you saw in this episode? Okay, Geek Girl says she absolutely loved it. I know. I've been waiting for one of these episodes for a while. I really feel like the episode came full circle, meaning that we pretty much got everything that we wanted, right? We got all the feels, if that's the correct term, right? Like we wanted to know what was going on. with Tabitha. I feel like we got that full arc. I mean, 3 episodes. Some people said they thought it was a little bit soon, but I mean, that just lets me know that they got a lot more in store for us. And so I'm ready to keep the ball rolling. Like let's find out more information. Let's find out more mysteries, right? Matthew, what's going on, my friend? It said Matthew said it left me wanting more. Man, cliffhangers, I know. I mean, they're treacherous with the cliffhangers. Like, damn. But if you guys joined my live earlier this week, I did reveal the episode 3 trailer, and it just so happened it was like a day before that MGM dropped their trailer, but it was pretty much the same thing, just everything summed up into one. And we did a 2-hour live stream talking about it. And so that I think that's going to be my method from now on. I think on Wednesdays, I'll sort of go live with some information, and then I will talk about what we think for episode 4. Then it seems like Thursdays, unless they switch it up, Thursdays is usually when they drop their trailer for the next episode. Then I can go live and talk about that, and then I can, on Sunday, I can do my review, and then I can post it like I did. If you guys haven't seen my breakdown, it's on my YouTube page. It's live, and so we'll talk about a couple other things afterwards. But let's get into this trivia, the moment we've been waiting for. So the way the trivia works is you guys in the chat just put what category you want to start with and what is the dollar amount, and then we'll just go from there. If you guys want to keep score on who's scoring, we can do that. And I'm looking to evolve the trivia. Of course, traditional games, game show format is PvP, so I'm definitely looking for contestants. Maybe we can set something up in the future where if you guys really, really enjoy the trivia, you guys can be guests. So that would be great. All right. So here we go, guys. Let's kick it off. What is the first category that you guys would like to pick? Creatures. Okay, look, let's go. All right, creatures. Let's kick it off with creatures. For what dollar amount would you like to start with? Let's go big money. You guys want to go straight for the Thou Wow? Let's start this with a bang. She went for 200. All right, I just saw. We'll do that one next. So here's the question for the Thou Wow. What creature killed the cow in the season 3 trailer? Mr. and Mrs. Smith, 104. Good to see you. That is correct. The milkman. Now I do want to point out some of these I kept the same because the way the show's going, I feel like we need to remember a lot of this information, right? So some of the ones that I feel like might come back again, I'm gonna keep on here, but I might move them around for different for different dollar amounts. But yeah, it seems like the it's unanimous. Everybody knows the milkman. I mean, and I think that was a great twist. Like the who came first, the chicken or the egg? So the milkman kills the cow. I thought that was just great writing. And I really been wondering, like, why is there a milkman on the show? Like, out of all people to have, we see the mechanic, we see the librarian, and these are the titles that they have in the IMDb, right? So now, but to me, the one of the funniest Easter eggs was the milkman killing the cow, right? I mean, it's like putting the cart before the horse. I mean, it just to me shows that these guys know what they're doing when it comes to writing, this show. So I really enjoyed that. So Creatures for 200 was the next one. So 200, of course, a little bit easier. What creature said you picked a bad spot? Ah, right. That's exactly what happens when people start going to the store. Okay, we're starting to get some answers. That's right. Smiley, Greek girl, what happened? Oh, what? Oh. So yeah, so look, I mean, I want to keep Smiley's memory alive as long as possible, and hopefully we get a return in season 3. I really believe that we will get a return in season 3. I mean, the character was just too I want to go as far as to say iconic, you know, especially because of how he started. I mean, he started as a true background character. I mean, he stood out amongst the rest of the background, and they pretty much put him onto full cast because I was able to do an interview with him, and you guys can check that out on my page. And he was pretty much being represented by MGM. So, I mean, I think they got big plans for him, and I think that his notoriety, you know, and reputation for his looks and smile had precedes himself. And I mean, I know that they're working on that movie Smile too. And I mean, that would be amazing if he was to continue to get more roles and continue to do films and pop up in more things. So that would be dope. So definitely would like to see him make a return this season. It doesn't feel like the same show without him on there. Yeah, I know that face. All right, you guys. What's another category? We did the creatures for 1,000, and we did creatures for 200. You guys want to just stay with the creatures category? I could just go down there. Episode 3, 600. Oh, okay, right in the middle. Okay, episode 3. You guys ready? I hope you guys remember everything. Okay, what did Victor dig up from behind the colony house? What did Victor? We saw this in the original trailer, right? And there's a moment we've been waiting for because anytime Victor, you know, starts to remember things, he has to go physically find it, right? It's like a physical representation of his mind and that he represses. So we know in season 2, he had a whole bunch of stuff in his mom's car's trunk. And then, yes, that is correct. Suitcase, briefcase, survey says both are acceptable answers. Now, they didn't show what was in the suitcase. Um, and I believe that we're still waiting to find out. So, what do you guys think might be in there? Because originally, a lot of people were thinking that he was, you know, digging up a body, or, you know, he might have been digging up his mom's body. But we see it was a suitcase, briefcase, and I mean, I always look at how they hold things, right? Like, sort of in the trailer for episode 1, season 3, we seen Boyd carrying a body, and I knew it had to be someone that he could physically lift up, and I knew it had to be someone possibly smaller than him. So that gave away a lot of the answers for me. And same things with this, like he was kind of carrying it in a way that was easy for him to handle. So I'm guessing that it's either pictures or some more of his drawings. That's usually the way he goes about things. He draws what he sees, and then he buries those memories. And so I'm guessing we're going to find more. Now, last time Victor, you know, had one of those, went to go find some of his lost memories, he remembered he had a sister. So maybe this time, you know, we'll get another person or some actions from a person, or, you know, something that pretty much tells a story of what we've been trying to find out. But I did work on a video of Victor, and I'm still working on it because Victor is a complicated character. So I didn't really finish it because there's just so much to talk about, and so many other topics, you know, were, you know, because they pretty much run 3 or 4 storylines at once. But I do know that when Victor, you know, starts to talk about some of these stories, it usually is a action that has happened in the past. So maybe we'll get what happened, you know, after he left the root cellar, or maybe we'll find out if he talked to Eloise, you know, after the root cellar, or just what happened after he left the root cellar. That's my goal. That's what I would like to know. All right, you guys, what's the next one? Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Smith is on it. Okay, season 1. Let's go way back. And it seems like season 1 was yesterday, man. It was, almost 2 years ago. What does the poem on the board in the diner say? had a great impact on the show. If I go back, can you guys hear me okay? All right. So I went ahead and picked the category episode 3 for 200. What did Jim and Kenny find in the Lost Village? That is correct. They found the food. They found the food, right? I mean, they were in a bad situation. I mean, the plan that the creatures executed went down flawlessly. You know, I believe they pretty much pulled a hat trick, right? It was to threaten the food supply, to draw out the people, to break Boyd, and to catch Tien Chen. Now, someone was arguing with me in the comments that Tien Chen wasn't a target, but see, I believe that the plan was so detailed that as far as breaking Boyd, which was the number one priority, and they know that they can't break him by doing things to him, so they have to take a more psychological approach, and that approach is to, from what I think, is to break Kenny. And I mean, because Kenny's just getting a raw deal here, right? I mean, he loses his dad, right? And then he loses his mom, right? And you know, if you look at the dynamic of the characters, you know, Kenny is more of Boyd's son than Ellis is, right? Even though Ellis is his biological son. Now, of course, Boyd cares about Ellis, but I think the creatures, the entities, everybody knows that they're not that close. But because if they were, I mean, the best way to break Boyd would be to do something to Ellis, but they know that they're kind of estranged. So they go after Kenny, and we see multiple situations where, you know, Boyd longing for that relationship he had with Kenny. And even in the last episode, you know, just riding with him, riding with him as far as wanting to go burn up the caves. Like, hey, you know, I'm just gonna go burn the caves, and Boyd's like, yeah, let's do it. And but of course, talking him out of it, and letting him come to sort of his own conclusions. I mean, to me, that's just like being a great dad right there. You know, giving him that support that he needs. And so, I'm definitely hoping that Kenny remains unscathed for the rest of the season. But the way it's looking, he might as well say he has a target on his back. You know, he might as well say he has a target on his back. You know, and so because I mean, Boyd is a different type of person. I mean, he pretty much was unfazed after being strapped, handcuffed to a pole all night, watching, Tien Chen's, you know, for untimely demise, and it didn't lose a wink of sleep, so he's definitely of a different caliber. I mean, we're talking about Boyd, who pretty much, shot his wife in the face, without hesitation, like this guy is a different breed almost, so they know that traditional means aren't going to get to him. All right, so I'm just gonna go down episode 3. Sorry about the audio, guys. So who was on the phone that called Jim, right? This is a good one. Who was on the phone that called Jim? Who was on the phone that called Jim? Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Final answer. What do you guys think? Final answer. Okay. Yep. So we got a couple answers here. So yeah, I mean, this is what I'll say about this. Exactly. Exactly. And see, it's a very intricate web that they weave, right? I mean, the person on the phone identified themselves as Thomas, right? But we know it can't be Thomas, right? So it had to be one of the creatures or entity or the boy or white, and it's still undecided. But survey says that Thomas is acceptable answer, but we know it wasn't Thomas. I mean, Thomas died as an infant, and so he couldn't be. I mean, the person on the phone sounded like maybe I'll say between the ages of 8 and 10, maybe a little bit 8 to 12, maybe. uh and it was just impossible, right? And yeah, I mean, that was the epitome of evil. I mean, we've heard that from behind the scenes footage, and if you guys are looking for some you know uh commentary on what is really going on, watch the behind the footage, right? I try to watch a lot of that early behind the scene footage, and I'm also going to play an interview that I saw with Harold Perneau. He explains a lot, and it actually gives us a lot of hope for what we're going to get. But in the behind the scenes footage, either John Griffin, the three Jacks, John Griffin, with three J's, John Griffin, Jack Pinkner, and the other one, pretty much said that the town, you know, puts people through their worst nightmares. The town, knows their fears. In the town, everybody has to go through their own demons. And I believe that the whole situation is a demon for Jim. And I mean, they're sort of breaking him, but I don't know why all of a sudden that happened, right? Like the phone keeps ringing in that house. We did see in season 2 the phone ring, and it was Kenny who picked up this time, but it wasn't a manifestation of, let's say, his nightmares or his fear. It was the song, right? And that was, pretty much what people were saying. The music box entity was the main villain for that last season. But we know that the cicada jumped out the pot and he was burned, right? So that's how we knew the dreams could kill. But yeah, that was pretty evil what they did with the Thomas thing. But on the other hand, I'm very happy to get some Thomas action, because they've been talking about Thomas so much. I mean, just Thomas, right? And we're like, can we actually get maybe a flashback of Thomas? Can we get, just some more information about Thomas, and they gave us, some audio of what I think is, heavy manipulation. All right, so pick another category, guys. If you want to stick with 3, just let me know. I'll go down a category. If you want to jump around a little bit, we still got a lot of other categories. Boyd 600. Okay, Boyd, my favorite character. Okay. What did Boyd have to destroy to free Julie, Mary, and Randall? What did Boyd have to destroy to free Julie, Mary, and Randall? Oh, here we go. Right, music. Good guess, guys. Music box. The music box. That's correct. That is correct. So the music box was listed as the pretty much the big bad in season 2. It was manifesting itself as the ballerina in the Past the Do episode, and we find out that it was the key to freeing, I guess you can say, their souls were trapped because their physical bodies were in Fromville, right? Julie was in the bed in the house. Randall was at the clinic, I believe, and who was the third person? And Mary was at the clinic as well. Yeah, I believe so. So they physically weren't gone, but their eyes were white, and so could have been that their souls were trapped. So it had this whole other thing that was going on that, of course, they didn't explain. But As soon as he smashed it, it came back. Okay, what's another category? You want me to stick with the boy category? Talisman 200. Okay. How many talismans are there? My friend Bitey, good to see you. Welcome to the trivia. Is that your final answer? Anybody else have an answer? We got 12 with a question mark. Is that your final answer, Linda? Well, that is correct. There are 12 talismans. Now, I'm not sure if this is the actual photo of all the talismans, but there is 12. And from what I've heard from the behind the scenes, that each talisman has a different meaning. Now, I don't know if they're still going to go with that storyline, but that's what John Griffin said. He said each talisman has a meaning the people of the town just don't know yet. So in season 1, if you go back to a lot of my early videos, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out these talismans from, of course, what the symbols mean, and then if any of them was different. And I don't feel like any of them are different, right? Like it's not like, some have more F symbols, or some have a side with a sun and others have both two sides with a sun, or one has two sides with a moon, or the sort of mirror image of the person is not like one has one, some have two, three. They're kind of all the same. It's just the rocks have different shapes, right? And edges. So I could not figure out if there was anything else. So Linda said, I heard they all go together, but not sure if that's true. Well, they were all together, right? Because remember when Boyd found them, they were all together, right? But they weren't in like a, they didn't make one big rock, right? They didn't do like a Voltron thing, even though that would be cool. and I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I kind of want more from the talismans. I want them to like at least glow or something, right? Like I want them to be activated so we know that they're activated. I feel like the talismans have such a big role, and it's kind of lackluster performance on their hat. Like they should vibrate, glow, make a noise. It's just anything that you can know that it's working, right? And so, yeah, but we'll see. So more to come on the talismans, we hope, and we'll figure out what they actually mean. All right, let's pick another category. They form together and make a Mega Rock superhero to fight the big red monster from the cave. Yeah, exactly. Man, they make a golem, right? Oh, man. Yeah, me too. I want them to start explaining more about them, right? Yeah, like the origin of them. Are they runes? What is the writing on them? Is it from Viking? From I believe how they pronounce it, Elder Fufnark, or just is it the F symbol for ash tree? Like just so many questions that we have about those talismans. Yes, and the spider, right? But I think I said this before. I actually think a lot of the things on the show are literary references, right? Like and so I believe that the spider was actually Sarah, because I believe Sarah was a Black Widow. So I believe it was actually Sarah who was a spider. But we do know that there is a spider. There was a spider or spiders, right, in the forest. But that scene, I watched it a whole bunch of times, and I'm still not convinced that Sarah saw the spiders, right? Because listen, if I saw webs that thick, right, or just that many spiders, I would have freaked out, right? And Sarah took it like a champ, right? She was kind of like, "Oh, let me help you," and kind of was playing. And I kind of feel like she was playing along with his crazy, right? Because she knows that she's crazy. And yeah, exactly. Big spiders. I was so fearful for Boyd that when he walked into the web, I thought the giant spider was going to be above him, right? I'm like, man, if he looks up and if there's a 50-foot giant spider above him, I was like, I'm turning this off immediately. Right. That was my my breaking point. Yeah, so I still don't know. So I still don't know if there actually was a spider, but you know, the spider bites was actually a cure for Parkinson, right? Because his Parkinson's was getting bad, and he was wishing for more time, and I guess by him getting the spider bite was what enabled him to have more time, which I thought was really odd. But we've seen that happen before, right? I mean, Sarah let us know that the cicadas was her brother's fear, right? Then we find out that even in the most recent episode before the passing of Tien Chen, she pretty much explained that we'll find another area, find different soil, and we'll plant smaller crops, and that's exactly what they found, right? And so there has to be some sort of connection with some of the things that people wish, and I'm not sure if it happens while they're alive or before they die, but we've seen it a couple times. So Geek Girl said, yeah, the spider had dropped down on my chest right before episode. I was already on it. What? No way. No way. Hell nah. Shelburne, what's up? Boyd seems the type of guy to hand-to-hand combat giant spider, right? Right. And scream out, you won't bite me. Yeah, it's hilarious. Okay, let's what about another category? Stick with the Boyd category. Yeah, stick with the Boyd category. Let's see. We did Boyd for 600. Let's do. Let's see if anybody. Let's do a Boyd for 800. Let's stick with Boyd. What did Boyd find in the forest that he thinks will help? What did Boyd find in the forest that he thinks will help? We got Talisman's final answer. Oh, Bitey with the win. Yes, remember, right before Reggie shot him, he said, "Hey, I found this in the forest. I think it will help." And that was the torch, one of the missing items, right? I guess from this quest that you needed. I mean, how he figured that out, I don't know, because he came out the well, right, and he um, was in the basement, what I thought was the basement of the tower or the basement of the lighthouse, but then he flipped out of it and was in the woods in an abandoned structure. And, he kept the torch with him. But, we've seen things like that before. We also know that the show is heavily based on Stephen King's work, right? And so there is a book called The Talisman, and if you guys are familiar with that story, they kind of flip between worlds. And so we see that here where Boyd lights a torch and he flips in the world, and he removes the flame, and he's back in his regular one, or vice versa. And so I always thought like maybe he kind of, he stayed. I thought at the end of that season finale, I thought he kind of stayed in that other world because he was walking around with the torch, and I thought he had to put it out to get back to the regular world. So I don't know, but I was kind of hoping they elaborated more on that. Now, animals, he did find animals. He said, look, but he just said, look what I found here. It's some resources. He labeled the goat as a resource. All right, let's keep things going. What's this? You guys want to stick with the boy category? Did we do? Let's do one of the creatures categories. I don't think we did any creature categories yet. Let's do creature for 200. Oh, we did. We did this one. Okay. Let's do creatures. Okay, which creature was seen sleep in the cave? We got Smiley. Any other answers? We got cheerleader, and we got waitress. It is the waitress. It is the waitress. It is now. There was a couple of creatures that we saw, but I guess I was more so meaning what was the first one that we saw, and this was pretty much the first clear shot that we got of the creatures, and of course she looks toe up from the flow up for real, and I mean she doesn't. I mean, first of all, she's. I think there was a big, clue in this because when the creatures are out to hunt or kill, whatever you want to call it, they were in their human forms, right? And so, but it looks like when they sleep, they're in their creature form. So that made me think, like, what is their real form? Is being a creature their real form? Or she had a rough shift at the Waffle House. Damn. Hey, she sure did. Hey, the Waffle House is not no cakewalk, right? I mean, it goes down at the Waffle House, especially at the late nights. And so, so I didn't know what was going on with that as far as if what was their real form and what were they glamoring to be, right? Were they glamoring to be humans? Were they glamoring to be creatures? I figured that they would have stayed as humans and then turned into the creatures before they attacked, but it looks like that the being walking around a creature is their real form inside that cave, right? But yeah, good one, guys. All right, let's see. Back to the panel. All right, pick another category. Origins. Let's see what Origins 200. Oh, yes. The Origins. Who killed Sarah's brother? So technically, yes. So technically, this should be an Origins character. I must have missed that one. But yes, Sarah was the killer of her own brother. But the origin question would have been, where is Sarah from? So that would have been the actual origin question. Where is Sarah from? Okay. We got PA. So we're getting closer. We specifically, where in PA is Sarah from? So Boston was where she's headed. All right, we're getting closer. Boston was where she was headed. But where was she from? Okay, Philadelphia. So you're on the same area, but it is that, well, PA would be considered the border between Pennsylvania and New Jersey. But she was, if you continue down, I think it's 65 or I-90. No, it's not I-95. But if you can continue down the PA Turnpike, you'll come across a place called Hope, PA, right? And At first, I thought they were kind of just trolling with that she was from Hope, PA, because if you know, Hope has been a big theme on the show. Correct? Hope has been a big theme on the show. So I'm like, man, how could she be from a place called Hope? And I did a video on Sarah's background, pretty much during season one. So this was maybe over a year ago, and I did 3 parts of character breakdown of Sarah because the rabbit hole around her, where she's from, and all that stuff had a lot of information. And what I found out was that Hope, PA, has a big history of witchcraft, right? And then I thought that her going to Boston, right, which is also another witchcraft area with a lot of witchcraft, if you look at it from that perspective. And so I'm thinking like, wow, she's just going from which town to which town, just and then comes to Fromville. And I didn't think that was a coincidence at all, especially when we know now, looking at season 3, that people are chosen, like episode 2 in the basement with Henry and Tabitha. Henry pretty much said that Miranda said she was chosen, and now it's Tabitha. And so at one time, each person could have been chosen to solve this quest or solve this theory. And so um uh, and someone else was in the comments saying that, what if all these people were assembled because they had a particular set of skills, sort of like the Avengers, right? You got, of course, Mr. Fish and Loaves, you got Iron Abbey, you got Sarah the Witch, you got, I don't know, Elgin the Necromancer, or whatever the heck is going on with Elgin. You got Fatima, the demon mother, right? You got all these people who had so much stuff going on in the regular world, and then come to Fromville with these particular sets of skills to potentially help free the children, right? And so that's what I was believing. Yeah, I mean, I think they are a few chosen ones. Completely agree. Exactly. All right, so let's go back to the panel. Let's keep going with character origins. So what happened to Eric? Now, this might be a tough one. Oh, maybe not tough for everybody. Maybe not tough. Maybe not tough for everybody, huh? That's right, man. Eric, man. I mean, obscure character, but apparently he had a lot of connections on the show, right? I mean, they talked about him a lot. I mean, half the town was, in mourning from his passing. Like, Eric was the first one to help me do this when I got to town, and he was the one who gave me directions. And we spent so much time. Yeah, why the long face, Eric? Oh, it's genetic, right? Yeah. And so, yeah, so that was a good one. Yeah. So Eric, forgotten but loved character. So let's keep it going with character origins, right? So Kevin. So who killed Kevin in the who done it category, but who was Kevin would have been the character origins question. Okay, seems to be unanimous. So you guys know who Kevin is then. Okay. By name, no one might know, but by picture, everybody knows. He also has another name. It goes by Simp number 1, right? Because he was simping over Jasmine. But I mean, there's been a couple of Reddit chats where they say they don't blame him, right? For Jasmine, for him falling literally porn stash guy. Right, him falling heads over heels for Jasmine. And I mean he he left the flowers for her, right? And yeah, I was trying to figure out, I mean, I thought something else was going on with the flowers, because I think the show is always very intentional when they show you things. And so I'm like, Julie finds the flowers or sees the flowers, and I'm like, what? I wonder what the flowers mean, blah blah blah. And I didn't even connect with me when I seen her holding the flowers. Like, I got the flowers. I didn't even think about that. I just want to know, how do you start a relationship with a creature, right? I mean, what do you like? Oh, well, I guess he's talking to her through the window, right? I guess he's standing in the window, wait for somebody to show up, hoping that she shows up, or maybe he was calling her name from the window. But yeah, I don't know how he started that, but he almost succeeded. Okay, let's see. That's the same one. So let's go character origin. All right. How many people? Wow, you guys are on it. Yeah, that is correct. 14 people died in the massacre. Yeah, that's right. A lot of people died. A lot of people was in season one, and then they weren't there no more. A lot of people from Fatima's birthday party or 1 year anniversary party were definitely not there no more. And so it definitely was a big cleansing. You can kind of see him on the porch in this picture. Yeah, but they were all wiped out, man. That was a that so Kevin was responsible for a lot, indirectly for a lot of murders, man. A lot of murders. All right, and let's see. Let's go to the last one for 1,000. Okay, who was responsible for the death of Thomas? Yeah, it's no secret, you know. Jim was single-handedly responsible for the passing of Thomas. But I mean, you can say that, there's two parents involved, right? So you could say Jim and Tabitha, but Tabitha would never co-sign that. The Chromonacle, and Jim walks around with this, and I believe that's why the phone call, made him feel so bad. I mean, he pretty much was spiraling that entire day, right? He was spiraling that entire day, about the death of Thomas. I mean, well, talking to the person described as Thomas. Yeah, it was Jim who went to answer the phone, right? It was Jim who went to go answer the phone. Jim was watching Thomas. The phone rung, like pretty much like it did in the episode, and he left Thomas for a second, and Thomas rolled off the table or something like that. Oh, so you believe Tabitha? Buddy said Tabitha went for the diaper bag. Okay, so Tabitha went for the diaper bag. Jim went for the phone, and then so they both were responsible directly. And so he walked around with that, and it pretty much was the reason why it was breaking them up, and they were on their last vacation, that we found out. And then they were going to split up because they just couldn't get past it. And I guess now it makes so much more sense. So we watch that first scene, and I guess he's trying a little bit, and he's like, says to Tabitha, "I remember how things used to be," and she's like, "Don't even." She's like, "Don't even, don't even try." All right. So what are the categories we got? I think we got some in season one. I think we got maybe one or two in Boyd. We did the whole episode 3. We have some more to Talisman. Yeah, if she left the baby with him, that definitely would be on Jim's conscience. But see, I was also saying that there's been some evidence that people were experiencing things in the real world similar to what they experienced from. And what if the phone call was like one of the creatures, right? What if it was a total distraction to start the ball in motion and get them there? When you say season 3, me episode 3. I'm not sure where we left off. Let's do episode 3, 800. Okay. How did Tilly find out she had cancer? We heard this on the episode tonight. How did Tilly find out she had cancer? Oh, look at that. It's unanimous. You guys were on that one. That's exactly correct. She said it was these cards that told me I had cancer. I would love to know how that actually works. Like, how do you do that? But man, this was a big moment for me when they revealed those tarot cards. If you guys are familiar with my channel, I've been doing videos since the first premiere on Epics, right? Whatever happened to Epics, but that network. And one of the theories of one of the people I partnered with was Tehran, and we talked about tarot. We spent about 2 hours talking about how the show has a big symbolism of tarot, and for the tarot cards to show up on the show, I think is a big deal. It either means that they always had that plan and we just called it good, or they saw our video and then put a little Easter egg in there, since the Frumley has responded to those tarot theories so greatly. And yeah, that was very early when there wasn't a lot of theories about From, and we really took the theories to the deep level. And so I was really happy to see that they add that in there, and that our prophecy came true. So let's see. Linda said, "I wonder if Gertie will come up again. She sounds interesting." So when you say Gertie, what do you mean, Gertie? So Geek Girl says she does, Linda. And so for anyone kind of thinking about what the tarot means, pretty much the theory that we were saying on our live stream, and it's still up there. It's a long video, but it's on my live tab. It's the 1503 theory that her friend that gave her the cards. Okay, Gertie, yeah. So one of Gertie, that's who read the tarot, the Tilly. Okay. And so we basically said that there's opposing forces. There's 2 or 3 entities playing a game, right? And each person in the village is a card, right? And so they're playing, taking pieces off the board pretty much. And so Boyd being a card that represents the Fool. There's someone else who represents the Lovers, which we know is Ellis and Fatima. And then there's different characters. There's the Man in Black. There's basically all the tarot cards. And so each of them are represented by some of their actions, and there's also colors that was involved. When you see people wear colors, because we know that the shirts are intentional, right? We know that Elgin's shirt was specifically picked out by John Griffin himself, and so we know that some of the colors represent the card and the team that they're on. So some of the people are not on the same team. Like some of the people that are there are not all good, some of them are evil. So Linda said, and the cards hinted she would end up there. Wow. But she did not specify how. Wow. Let's see. Did we do the final one? Let's do episode 3 for okay. Episode 3 for 1,000. Who did Henry say his wife Miranda wanted to be close to her? Or I should say what? I apologize. What did Henry say his wife Miranda wanted to be close to her? So the question, what did Henry say his wife Miranda wanted to be close to her? Wow. You guys are on it. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you guys are on it. That's correct. The bottle tree. She said she wanted it to be close to her. So, we found out so much information in these last 2 episodes, just from, Tabitha being in the real world. We saw all the paintings in the basement. We see the installation of the bottle tree behind the house. And yeah, she said she wanted it to be close to her. And we still didn't get the information of why she wanted it and what it means or what it symbolizes, because it has to symbolize something separate from everything else, right? So the tree has to mean something itself. That's kind of what I took from that statement when he said that she wanted it close to her. So it has to mean something. Now, this tree is somewhat different than its Frumville counterpart. It doesn't have the tree hollow in the middle. And yeah, exactly. I wanted to see the original at the park, because if the original had the tree hollow in the middle, then I feel like she could have entered it, right? And I was like, man, if she enters the tree and pops back up in Frumville, right, that man, it was going to be a big moment, and I really wanted to have that moment. But of course, we see that they didn't get a chance to see it. But we've also found out on some other interesting information, which also throws a whole curve and everything. Henry said that him and Miranda, or maybe just Miranda, I don't know if he implicated himself in it, but took acid, right? And so I feel like because they introduced that, it means a lot for the rest of the town members, right? That there could be some sort of, you know, LSD or some sort of drugs involved in everything, you know. So I want to look into more of that. I'm starting to look into what everybody's drinking, and I don't know if you guys saw my recent video right at the end, and I'll play it after this. I noticed that there was 3 people on in the episode 3 that took drinks of water, right? And also we saw Jade drink something, and Jade had 2 visions back to back. And we've never seen Jade have 2 visions. We've seen him have one. We've seen him, you know, go to another place and have another vision, but he had pretty much 2 visions back to back. Now, granted, it was in the same place. Yeah, you're right. He did say, Jay did say it was like walking into an acid trip at first. Exactly. And so I'm just trying to figure out, like, if it was something to do with acid, is it possibly in the water? Right? Because we, like I said, Jade is, you know, he drunk something and then he saw the visions. Jim actually took a drink of water before he heard the phone ring. And then we seen Boyd take a drink of water, right? And so, but we didn't see we didn't see from Boyd's perspective. We didn't see if he saw anything. We just saw him take a drink of water, and it was like the shot, right? It was pretty much similar to this shot. It was of close up of Boyd drinking, sipping the water, and I'm like, man, you know, they showed things are very intentional. All right, so that was episode 3. Did we do 400? Oh yeah, we did. We did 400. We did 600. We did 8. We did 1,000. Okay, so I think that's all done. Talisman. Let's go through that. We did. Okay, where do the townspeople keep the talisman to repel the creatures? The T. That's correct. On the wall. Yeah, right by the front door. Hanging by the doors. Who has a talisman painted on their jeans? Who has a talisman painted on their jeans? Oh man, you guys are on it. Man, you guys are on it. I thought that would have been a little bit difficult. I mean, when I noticed that, I thought it was a big revelation. I'm like, man, Ellis is going to have some sort of superpower. And when he went back in the house because he thought that Fatima was still in the house, I'm thinking like, man, the creatures are not going to be able to like touch him or something like that. Like I was hoping for that so much because I know that the symbol has to mean something, but I don't get the connection between the symbol and the rock. I feel like the symbol could be put in other places and mean something. But yeah, so I was really excited when I saw Ellis draw the symbol on his jeans, but it didn't lead to anything either. But yeah, so that was a good one. Yeah, I mean, they're on it. They're on it. Whitey's on it. Okay, where did Boyd find the talisman? Yeah, I really wonder if it will come in handy someday as well, because it has to be the symbol. It has to be a combination of the letters and the way they're in the pattern and the signs that go with it have to mean something specifically. And I don't think it would necessarily have to only be carved on a stone. I mean, it makes sense. So you got Stone Hut, you got the forest, and you got the hut in the forest. I mean, I'll say they're all acceptable answers. I mean, they call this the Talisman Cave, from what I've seen. But to me, I called it the Talisman Hut. I've called it the Stone Hut. Yeah, I mean, so the hut in the forest works for me, right? I mean, but to me, so I was trying to really look into the origin of this, right? Because in that whole area that they're in, well, not Camden, Maine, but Vinland, if you will, Vikings. I thought this was a Viking, some sort of Viking structure. Granted, the language on the runes has to be some sort of Viking origin. So I was looking into Viking homes and huts and things like that. So I was calling it that. So I was talisman. Where the boy? Yep. So we did the 1,000. What do the symbols on the talisman mean? So this is a 1,000%, 1,000 level question. What do the symbols on the talisman mean? Yeah, I mean the talisman. I mean, just by the way that the hut is overgrown compared to any other structure, right? It has to be ancient. It has to be very old. And it has to be. That's why we had the 1506 and going. And I believe that was one of the dates, the first date that we saw, or the oldest date we saw on the stairs, um, in the lighthouse. Okay, I mean those are all great answers. It means protection. It could mean safety. You know, and but just to be short, we don't know. We don't know what it means, but I believe that we will find out, and I have hope that we will find out. But all we know is that I believe it has something to do with the trees. I was able to translate the F. Oh, look, this is good. Linda said, different person during the day than at night. At least that's what it exactly has to do something with the day and the night, because we do see the sun and the moon. And then we do see the F. Now that F pops up on the cave drawings as well, and that has been identified as an ash tree. And so it has to be something with the trees. Now, I believe if you count how many's on there, I believe it was 12. And then, but it can get very deep when you start to go into the ash tree and some of the Viking mythology. All right, so we did character origins, we did the talisman, we did all episode 3. Did we do Boyd? I believe we might be at 800 Boyd. Or no, we did. Okay, 1,000 Boyd. Who threw down the rope in the well? Does anybody know this one? Yeah, Martin was his name. It could be a ballerina. Some people saying Martin. Martin with telekinesis. So, yeah, we don't know. Another sort of open-ended question. We don't know, but I believe that the answer will come. I do believe that the logical conclusion was that Sarah entered the tree after Boyd, and instead of it put Boyd at the bottom of the well, and it put Sarah at the top of the well. That's the best thing I can come up with, right? And that Sarah was at the top of the well, and she threw the rope down. That's the only physical, logical thing that you can say, right? If Boyd was by himself, Martin's long ass toes and toenails, right? He kicked it with his foot. He kicked it with his toenails. Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing that if Boyd was by himself and went into the tree, then I'd be like, we there was no way to find out, right? It would have had to have been Martin, but there was technically 3 people in that couple of scenes, right? So it had to be, because she said she was right behind him. So Boyd goes in, Sarah goes in, Boyd's at the bottom of the well, Sarah's at the top. But then that doesn't make sense for her to run away. Why wouldn't she wait for him to climb up? So there's still more mysteries, but that's the only logical thing that I could think of, unless the writers just plot hole, in the storyline, a huge plot hole. We'll never get an answer to how that worked. And I also thought that maybe there was no rope, right? Because technically, after he left that area with Martin, there was no structure, right? So he wasn't in the basement, he wasn't in the dungeon, and then so you have to say he wasn't in a hole. I mean, you have to say that. So I mean, there's multiple questions of how it goes, but I think it does go deep. But then also, this is something else I've been noticing, and I don't really know if anybody else has been talking about it. It seems that you could only go in a faraway tree when the boy in white tells you to, right? Because I was just thinking about all the times that people been in a faraway tree. Um, thinking with the Colony House Massacre, where Victor was helping Julie, and he said, "Come on this way." The boy in white told us to go this way, and she goes into the faraway tree from the boy in white. And even thinking in that same scene when they're in the forest, the rain's coming down, boy's energy is fading, he's going to pass out, and the boy in white says, "Quick, get in here," right? And so it's like I think the boy in white has to tell you to enter the tree. You can't just enter the tree. Because I'm thinking of even when we saw Victor show Ethan how the tree works, he threw the rock into the tree and it fell, assumingly from the sky, right down. So if you enter a tree at either the wrong time or without permission, you will be killed, right? That's what I'm guessing, because we haven't seen anyone else enter the tree, and possibly only at night, right? I'm trying to think. No, Tabitha entered during the day. And we didn't see the boy in white, but I believe that, I don't know, it was okay for her to do it. She got some sort of tree privilege. She got some sort of easy tree pass. She can just flip through. She can just flip through everything. Yeah, that's how they get you, right? Maybe that's how you get stuck if you go through a tree without approval or guidance. Exactly. You got to have permission to enter the tree. You can't just go into the tree. Okay, so that was all of the Boyd questions. Okay, here's a Boyd 200 we didn't get to. Where was Boyd coming from before being lost in Fromville? You gotta have a tree pass, exactly. Does anybody know where was Boyd coming from before being lost? Yeah, he was retiring. Yep, he was retiring. Okay. We got Linda with Virginia. More specifically, where's Bitey? Where's Mr. and Mrs. Smith? Where's Shelburne? Shelburne says west. Fairfax. Okay. You're warmer. You're warmer. So according to the missing poster, Boyd Stevens, missing since November 15th, 2009. He was last seen with his wife Abby and their son Ellis traveling from Petersburg, Virginia towards Wilmington, North Carolina in an SUV in a U-Move trailer hitched to the back. So Virginia was a good guess, and that was pretty much where he was coming from. I love how the missing poster is like Boyd in Fromville, right in the forest, right? Not like from the regular world. I always thought that was hilarious. So it was Petersburg, Virginia. And there must be something. I want to go back for a second. There must be something special about that U-Move trailer, right? Because I don't know if you guys have seen like the news about the Desert Chronicle website that talks about that was pretty much on the computer screen when Henry and Tabitha were looking up. She was kind of looking up her own story and Google search, I guess, her own name, and the article came up. But that article is live, and people have been like finding a ton of Easter eggs on that site. So maybe after this, I'll go to that website and we can check it out. But it was a lot to do with that U-Move trailer. Okay, I got a mod for the channel for you. I had fun though. Thanks so much. Yeah, thank you so much as well. And on the calendar in Donna's room. Thank you so much for joining us, Geek Girl. We really appreciate it. So let's see, what else do we have on here? I think we only got one category left. So season one. So where was the Matthews family going before they got trapped in Fromville? Yep, exactly. Yep. So yeah, I put Yellowstone. And originally I thought it was Yellowstone. Originally I thought it was Colorado, right? I thought it was we were going to the Tabitha's grandparents' house. That's what I originally thought, because in the first episode, Jim says, "Do you remember the last time I went to go see your parents?" And so I'm thinking like they're going to see, their grandparents. And I thought that was his RV, and then we come to find out like Jim's a sham, right? He rented the RV. They're not going to see the grandparents. They were going to Yellowstone. And then another thing that um yeah, exactly. What's weird, they say Yellowstone first, but then Tabitha told Henry, Colorado, right? So it's a whole bunch of misinformation around that small section. And then also, too, once I found out that they were going to break up and they were going to Yellowstone, a lot of people turn up missing at Yellowstone. I don't know if you guys know that. Like, and so I'm like, what was this guy going over there to kill everybody? Like, it just sat wrong with me. Everything sat wrong with me about Jim ever since I seen him turn off the highway. So in that very first scene when you press play on episode one and you see the RV driving on the road and it turns off and goes into missing 401, exactly. It goes off to that side road. I'm like, why would he turn off the highway? Right? It made no sense for him to turn off that highway. And I really was just like, man, something seems fishy about this guy. And I actually interviewed him and I asked his character, if he was a bad guy villain. And they both reacted like, oh, wait, you like kind of like, already. I mean, it's something that I just realized from the first episode, but it's unconfirmed, of course. So here's another one. What was the first vision that Jade saw in the woods? What was the first vision that Jade saw in the woods? Civil War guy. Yeah, exactly. We still don't know why he saw the Civil War guy, but he did see the Civil War guy. And we don't know, what that related to, what that meant. The only thing I took out of that scene was that the symbol that Jade saw the symbol on the tree. And after watching this episode or season a couple of times, I realized that the show is very literal. And so once we saw the scene in the basement, well, not the basement. Once we saw the scene with Jade in the cave, and then he looked up from the altars and he saw the roots in the symbol. He kind of said that the symbol was the trees, right? And so since then, I always thought that, especially since I literally saw the symbol on the tree. I'm like, it has to be the trees. So that's my whole thing, that the symbol is the trees, but of course it's unconfirmed. She say it looks like Drake. He looks like Drake after the Kendrick battle. That's what he looks like. Okay, let's see what else we got here. We got, okay, what season 1 600, what was the name of episode 10 in season 1? Exactly. Itself looked like the bodies were positioned so the blood dripped on the tree. So what is the name of episode 10 in season 1? I knew Shelbourne. Somehow I knew Shelbourne was going to get it. I knew it. All the places will go. That's exactly right. And that was a amazing episode. I mean, we've been waiting for so much information, and I feel like that was still one of the best ones. Okay, what type of car was Jade and Toby riding in when it crashed? Linda, close. Once upon a time was all the places would go. Bitey knows. Yeah, I'm a car guy, so I always pay attention to cars. And yes, it was an Audi. It was an Audi Q4, I believe, was the model. But here's something else too. So this is a little known fact about this, right? If you look at the map in Boyd's top of the line Audi Q5, right? If you look at the map in Boyd's office, right, it shows pin where each person is from, and they have the pin marked Jade and Toby, but it doesn't say. It says Sigrid car, right? And so that was something I noticed in season one, almost 2 years ago, and I wrote a Reddit post in one of the from groups about this Sigrid car and how it is a self driving car system, right? And so I figured that both of them were, well, Toby was in the front seat, but he wasn't driving. And then Jade was passed out in the back seat, as we know. And so there was a whole thing like maybe that this whole thing was, Jade pretty much knew how to get into Fromville, and he put the coordinates or calculations into the Seagrid computer and had the car find how to enter the Fromville. Sort of like a game. If you guys are familiar with the movie Cube, and I believe in like Cube 2, one of the people from the Cube management office entered the Cube to try to help everybody. And he was just talking about he sold his company. So I was like, maybe his company is doing, something with experiments with villagers or people, and he wanted to, pretty much go in there. But I mean, at this point in season 3, I don't think that still holds up. But there's been no explanation as far as what the Seagrid car was about, or if that was the company. I mean, his missing poster just says missing, tech CEO. And I think that's everything. I think we did them all, guys. So yeah, that's great. So yeah, so I've been trying to do more of the froms and get more categories. I still believe in some of the categories on here because some of that information I believe is going to come back. But I think I'm gonna do this week. I'm gonna update all. We got more information, and we got way more to talk about now. Right? We were kind of in a holding pattern on information, but now we got so much information, and I can come up with all new categories. So next week after episode 4, I'm gonna have 6 new categories, and I'm gonna have 6 new questions, and they're all gonna be different. And so, but yeah, before I go, I wanna go onto my YouTube channel. And I want to just show you guys some of the stuff I was talking about as far as the 1503 theory. And I want to talk about some of the other information that I found. And of course, as always, I definitely got some pictures for you guys. So stay tuned around for those pictures. So here we go. So this is my YouTube channel. So I hope you guys are following my YouTube channel. Now that From is in full swing, I'm definitely got a whole bunch of videos that I'm working on. And I'm going to drop this week. And so if you go to my live tab, you'll see all our past trivias, and then you'll see all our live stream from last week. And if you keep going down, you'll come across the 1503 video. So here they are right here. So this was the 1503 video that I did with Taryn, and we talked about the tarot, and then we did a part 1 and part 2. Where we just pretty much put the whole theory in perspective and explained how, what we saw from the tarot theory. And then if you go into my regular video page, you'll be able to see the new videos. So this was the from season 3, episode 3 review video that I put out. And then you can go here was a trailer from last week. So I'm going to play the trailer from last week just because, well, actually, I'm going to play it from this video because this was the full trailer. I'm sure there's a commercial.
The perfect tool to help you with your writing, Grammarly. So for those of you who don't know what Grammarly
previously on From.
I'll just get this fucking thing off me. It's okay to...
Let's get her back to camp. I want to catch one of those things. We need to learn about them. We catch one, He made you tell him. Hey, maybe we switch tonight. I'll take the bus. Why? Because I want to watch our friends when they come out of the woods tonight. We need to build a fort, and I'm going to tell a story.
Those are crops? Yeah, we figured we'd try composting them.
Whatever's going on, I promise it'll pass.
Is my baby okay?
See what the cards have to say.
Randy used to call it the bottle tree. The original's in a park a few towns over. Miranda made that for me.
This can be real. I found this in the diner. Pull over right now.
No! We're going!
Where am I?
It's a tree in the middle of the road.
So was that crazy or was that crazy? Right. I mean, amazing episode. Like I said, we got a lot of information, but yeah, some real good points, you guys. Some real good points in the chat. So thank you guys for adding that. And I'll pretty much start there, right? It was extremely weird that the ambulance comes over 3 towns. Here it is. Why does the ambulance come from Camden, Maine, 3 towns over to get them, right? I thought that, I mean, that was just extremely weird, right? Extremely weird. And it didn't make any sense. Let me go back for a second. Yeah, it didn't make any sense, right? But I do think, to the show's defense, maybe they didn't get out of the town yet, right? I mean, they were on. I know he said it was just down the street. I don't know how the towns are set up out there, but maybe they did. He didn't really leave his neighborhood. It didn't seem like they were driving that far. So maybe they didn't lead it to actual town yet, right? Or maybe the town is bigger, or maybe he just misspoke. Maybe he meant 3 towns over, but maybe he meant 3 streets over. I don't know, but it could have been something like that. And then also maybe it's a rural area, and yeah, you're right. Usually town has their own every town has their own ambulance service, right? Yeah, like there's usually multiple hospitals and all that stuff, but maybe for whatever reason, they were the only ones that was able to get there. But I would have thought that the police would have had their own vehicle, right? And they would have followed the ambulance. I don't think I've ever seen the police ride in the ambulance if it's not with a suspect. So um, so I didn't get that part either. You guys got no sound? Uh-oh. Sound is off. Thanks a lot. All right. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Sound is off. Am I back? Can you guys hear me? I'm not sure if it's when I take my person off the screen. Oh, we're all good. Okay, yeah. So I was just talking about this scene. Yeah. So Eloise said that's where my mother went that night. I don't know if you guys heard everything I said, but I just figured that. Oh, there he is, Christopher, my man, Christopher. What's up? What's up, Christopher? We were talking about your theory earlier about how it seems that each person was chosen. You know, Henry said that Miranda was chosen. Tabitha was, and then he said that he thinks that Tabitha was chosen. And we were just saying that everybody was possibly chosen, and they all have, these conditions that make them unique, right? Like Sarah. Oh, we got Debbie. Hey, Debbie, we got the full gang in here tonight. Debbie, thanks for joining, Debbie. And so we were talking about Christopher's theory, where he was saying how each person's got like a particular set of skills that could possibly help solve the quest, right? We've got Boyd, Mr. Fishing Loaves, Iron Abbey. We've got, Demon Mother Fatima, who I think had to be possessed, before she even got here. And then we got Necromancer Elgin, who's seeing the dead, right? Or whatever. So we got all these people who have these superpowers. So let's see. So let's go back. So yeah, so that's a big scene to me where Victor said, Eloise said that's where my mother went that night. So that means that he talked to her after the scene in the root cellar. So we were just talking about this scene here about the ambulance and why it's weird that the ambulance came from 3 towns over to from Camden to pick them up where the car crashed, to take them back to Camden. And we now, some people on Facebook have like a picture of the ambulance in Fromville, right? Because we know that was in the original trailer before the season started, and there's like a number on there, and then they can see the number on this ambulance, and it kind of matches up. And so Debbie agrees they're all archetypes. Yep. The issue is someone from the real world actually knows this is going on, right? Yeah, somebody has to, right? I mean, but also too, if they called the ambulance to that specific spot that they had the accident, they knew it was Tabitha, and then they sent the police with the ambulance to pick her up because the cop is specifically from that hospital, and she's like, "Oh yeah, they told me that a woman with a lunchbox," and so we know that it has to be someone who identified Tabitha and pretty much sent that specific ambulance, right? Or it could be the other thing that, like, kind of what we saw happen in the next scene, which is Tabitha kind of freaking out because she kind of knows that it's all fake, right? When she sees the bracelet, she starts freaking out, and she's like, this is not real. None of this is real. And she starts flipping out like this is not real at all. So she knows at this moment, I think that either the boy in white or the entity is in charge, right? So a lot of people were saying like this, she was never in the real world. So I mean, we don't know, of course, we don't know, but it could possibly be that she is still not in the real world. So all this could be fake, right? So that would mean, and if that's the case, it could mean that the phone call to her mother was fake. Her even being found by the hikers was fake. I mean, and it could be that this is not even really Victor's father, right? It can get so deep. And one indicator that I have that it's kind of off was the pictures on the wall. And I don't have the actual picture in this. Let me see. I might have it in my other photos, right? I'm not sure if I do. But Let me see if I can go back. I don't know if I have it. But what you say, Christopher? One thing I'm missing, but not 100% certain, is back on season 1, first few minutes, in the sky, the writing on from the hospital, etc. Present potentially. Also, there's an allegory with irony with. I can't read the whole one. Irony with. Oh, there are 7 people. There are 7 people walking the street. The bell from Boyd, think Catholic Church, and then the church to the right. The street, if I'm not mistaken, actually forms a cross. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't catch that one. And I might not have it in here, so I won't. So I'll remove it. But what I was pretty much getting at was, yeah, it could all be fake. It could all be fake because the pictures on the wall in the house, it doesn't look like Henry, right? It does not look like Henry. It looks more like Christopher. And this goes into how, if you in Fromville, all the creatures kind of know your fears, they know all your thoughts, and they can somewhat recreate it, but not exactly. So what if they could almost recreate Victor's town, his house, his dad, but they couldn't get the details right on the picture, right? It couldn't get that one detail right because they didn't really know what his dad looked like. They knew what they thought he looked like. And he looked, but they made it more so like Christopher. So it's a lot. And then, so that's kind of what let me know that, he might not be in the same world. It might still be in Fromville. And she pretty much proves it with this point, right? She flips out. She pretty much says, if I get out of this car, will I go back to Fromville? Like she had that look on her face. She really had that look on her face. And she tries to get out and she can't. And then we see what the aftermath. She wakes up in the ambulance. Now, I thought this ambulance scene was weird too because, Henry was banged up, right? The car was banged up. Tabitha is obviously banged up bad, right? She's banged up, but they don't have her on a gurney or a stretcher. They got her kind of like, well, I guess she is on a stretcher now. I see it, but she wasn't strapped in. She didn't have any restraints on. She didn't have any headgear on. They both would have had headgear on. They both would have been, had trauma. It definitely is a mystery horror. So it said, let's look at it from both point of views. The monsters are actually using known means to cipher information from people. There's still possibly magical and otherworldly. Yes, very much, very much. And so, but also I think the writers too use a lot of misdirection. So I don't know if you guys see my video, but I put this out there. So before season 1, they did announce there was 2 cast members. They announced that there was Robert Joy, and they announced there was Samantha Brown, who plays Acosta. And they had this other third person listed as a patient, which was uncredited, as an actress named Andrea DeVoe, but they had everybody listed as one episode. But now that the season started, we know that they're not in one episode. This just must be the minimum listing that they can put on IMDb. And we know that the patient was Tabitha. And I do believe somebody called that. Somebody called it that they knew it was not just going to be the person. But in the scene that we got, here it is. In the scene that we got, we see the body of the paramedic, right? We can see that happens from the trailer. We see the cop. We saw this already in the trailer. Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing I wanted to point out too. I think there's something weird going on with the Tabitha always passing out. And I said that in my last, here's another trailer. In my past video, why does she keep passing out, right? Why does she keep passing out? Right. And that was another scene that this whole thing was kind of fake, right? I mean, it didn't make any sense to me. And it happened so quick, I almost missed it. It was like she was on the front porch. Then she wakes up on the couch. Henry pulls the snub nose 38 cocked back, right? He was ready to fire at her. And he's like, you passed out on the porch. And I'm like, she passed out. when did that happen? And then she's hitting her head in the car, all this stuff that's going on. It just didn't make sense to me for her to pass out. I mean, and someone else was saying on Facebook, about how she even got to Fromville, because and we don't know if she's actually in the real world, because what happens? She falls out the window, and then the screen goes black, which is showing that she passes out again. So she passes out, wakes up in the hospital. She's at Henry's house, front door, passes out. She's in the house. She's going somewhere in the car, gets knocked out again, and then wakes up in the ambulance. So it's like all these scene skips that we don't know what is really going on. And so another thing that I pointed out in this scene was that what does the bracelet mean? That's what I was trying to figure out, right? Like, because they talk about it, how she knows, what it is. And this is a writing technique that they have. They call it a MacGuffin, right? And so that's what the tablet is. Someone else called it a port key, or a MacGuffin. And the MacGuffin is pretty much just a storyline reset, right? And so, in regards to the tune, we have a name in the studio. We call it the MacGuffin. It is a mechanical element that usually crops up in the story. In crook stories, it's always the necklace, and in the spy story, it's always the papers, right? We just try to be a little bit more original. So this is a literary technique for what the actual bracelet is. So Linda Webb said, but Boyd and his family were awake when they arrived. Yeah, so confusing. I mean, yeah, it gets deep, right? Because they did all of them were seemingly awake, right? Even except Toby and Jade, right? Everybody was awake arriving except those two, and that could mean something different. And everybody else was kind of driving. Now, I originally thought it might have been the car frequencies, because when we saw the car graveyard scene, all those cars had radios, and then there was the whole thing about the frequencies and the 4 and 7 and all that. And so I thought it might have been that if there is some sort of magnetic energy that was causing this town to have electricity and all these things, had to be some sort of energy source. And I thought at one point maybe it was pulling the cars in through the radio, but still unconfirmed. So another sign that Tabitha was going to make it back to Fromville was this that I found on Facebook as well. Someone pointed out that the address to the house 1597 is a Fibonacci number, and you guys know Fibonacci means circle, spiral, and kind of knew once he pointed that out, kind of knew that at this point she was going back to Fromville, right? Before we even knew that she was going back to Fromville. Once we found out that was a Fibonacci number, especially as much as they show it, they're always showing the house, always showing the number, always showing the house, always showing the numbers. Oh, that's right. The monsters are as much as the prisoners as the human. Yeah, man, I'm really liking your theory, man, about, like you said, they're brought there to help free the monsters, the creatures, which in turn is used to help free the children. So yeah, I think that it all happens. That happens sometimes, come up again. What Christopher said, all the humans that are present actually could in one night with preparation take out all the town. Yeah. All the known monsters, the issues we don't know their true numbers. Exactly. There's been creatures on there that we've seen one time, and others we've seen new ones that seem to have popped up as well. So to me, this is a representation of the town, right? It's it's a Hopi maze, right? It seems like you're in it and you can't get out of it no matter how much you try. And so what's next? Why did I do that? What's next on From? So we've seen this in the original trailer in the summertime, that nightfall comes, right? So that when the ambulance sees the tree, it's daytime. We see the sun is getting a little low, and the next time we see them, they're in the town, is night. And I believe it doesn't seem like a normal night. Like meaning when the Matthews family arrived, they threw the spikes down, they stopped them, they did all that stuff. Here it just seems like nobody came out. They're just riding around until the creatures come out, and the creatures set their mousetrap. So I'm guessing this is what the definition of the mousetrap was. I do believe that they switched the names of some of the episodes. I do believe that episode 2 was called Mousetrap, and I do believe that this episode was originally called um, There and Back Again, and I found that on this was an early screenshot I had of the episode list, and it said episode 1 When We Go, which was the premiere. Episode 2 was Mousetrap, and episode 3 was Back There and Back Again. So episode 3 was technically supposed to be There and Back Again, but they moved it down one. So now episode 3 is Mousetrap, episode 4 is There and Back Again. So they switched it. The crops are definitely a mousetrap. Exactly. So let's see. So I believe that this is where Randall. So I guess episode 4 is where Randall meets his end. And the way I figured this was because in the trailer, and these are all shots I took from the trailer. We see fire, right? And I couldn't tell if Randall was I knew this was Randall, but I couldn't tell if he was holding the fire or not. But it looked like fire. And we don't really see much fire. And I figured if somebody had fire, it was definitely going to be Randall. And so I thought Randall had the fire and was going to pretty much burn up the creatures. And you can't really see it in this picture, but he had something in his hand and he was in a defensive stance, right? And he looked like he lit something or put something in his hand. So I figured he had the Molotov cocktail. There was something on the ground over here. So I think that was his bag with the Molotov. That's what I thought. But for some reason, it backfired and burned him up. And I mean, we've seen him go through things like this before. This lower left picture was when the cicadas got him. And then this upper picture was from the original trailer. But it didn't look the same. If you see the lower left, you kind of see him kind of laying there with his eyes open. This one, he's more like rolling and patting like he's on fire. So I figured he's going to burn himself up. But of course, it's unconfirmed. And of course, we'll have to see. And then, of course, it's the mystery of the red rocks. We don't really know what they are, but I was happy to see that part come because I feel like it's going to play a much, much bigger part in the story. And maybe we'll find out what all the rocks mean, right? And I originally thought that was this the field from season 1, because if you guys remember that scene, when Nathan is walking up to Father Khatri says, "Hello, Nathan. What are the chances that a place like this exists in a place like this?" Right? That was pretty much what he said. And so we of course want to know more about the place like that exists. Something else crazy I found from this episode was the fact that they will go to the town, they got the additional vegetables, and I was saying earlier that this could possibly have been through Tien Chen's manifestation, because before she passed, she pretty much said that, don't lose hope because we're running out of food. We'll find different areas. We'll try to regrow the crops in smaller patches. And that's exactly what they did. They found this new area. They found the crops. Pretty much everything that she said came word for word. And there has been, direct correlation to people saying things and things coming true. When Boyd wished for more time, he got bit by the spider. It removed his Parkinson. Sarah said that the cicadas were Nathan's nightmare. So we've seen things come true in a wish format before. So Christopher says, so the food is a double problem, right? Yeah. So I do believe that there's a lot going on with the food, and I'll get to that part as well. I said earlier, and I said I was going to talk about this. I'm trying to put together to see if there's a direct correlation with the people on the show that drink things and see visions, right? In the kitchen, right before the phone rung, we saw Jim, take a drink. You know, he saw Jim take a drink and then he heard the phone ring. But see, he was by himself. So my question is, did he really hear the phone? Was it really Thomas or was it a dream? Because we did see before that it was a dream. It was Kenny, right? It was Kenny who was on the phone, and and that was a dream, right? So when we saw it was Kenny, where's that exact spot? When we saw it was Kenny, I'm going too far back now. When we saw it was Kenny, this was a dream. So just thinking about, well, could this have been a dream again? Because there was no one to confirm that the phone actually rung. Because we know it's not connected to anything. We know that the phone does not actually work, right? So how is he talking on it, other than knowing that the creatures control everything? So then the next person that we saw was Jade, right? And so Jade took a big swig, right? Jade was getting lit in the field. And right after this drink, you know, he saw a vision. And then there was the last person, well, actually the second person who took a drink. I can't get to it, but it was Boyd. Yeah, here it is. So the second person that took a drink, it was Boyd. Hello, Amy. Good evening and welcome. Thank you for joining the chat. We're just going through episode 3. We just finished up our From Trivia. We had a good game, and so we're just going through some of the things that we found out on this week's episode 3. So at this point, one of my big theories is that something's going on with the water. For some reason, episode 3, we saw a whole bunch of shots of people drinking, right? And we do know that there is possibly some LSD connections. Henry said that Miranda took some LSD and has had these visions, and then she was chosen by these, to free these children. And so, wondering if is something like that still going on in Fromville because of the visions that people have somewhat seemingly after they have a drink. So we see right before the phone rings, Jade has a drink of water. So is something in the water because he was by himself. The phone rung, but no one else was there to hear it. It wasn't confirmed that the phone actually did ring. Then we see Jade take a big swig. Yeah, Jade took a big swig, and I said this was rather unique that Jade saw 2 visions in this area. So Green Spider had what's going on. Julie had a glass of tap water as well, and I was thinking then I would not drink Town's tap water. Exactly. I mean, that's right. There's no telling what's in it, right? We know that the creatures control the electricity. We know that they control the phones, right? Why wouldn't they control the food and water, right? So Christopher said the water is an easy fix. The same food that was spoiled can be made detox the water. The fact they didn't do it already is an issue of Boyd. And so we see Boyd also drinking the water as well. So I mean, they all could be under some sort of LSD spell, and they all not know it, right? But see, then the only loop plot hole with that would be then how did they get into Fromville? How was the effect on them before? And so that's how it might be. Like the Truman Show, pretty much, that people were saying, like, they were, sent to this town under certain circumstances. And so, let's get to another part, the tarot part. So, of course, we see Fatima indulging herself with her delicacies. Her eclectic taste delicacy for rotted food, her vegetarian diet, and she's busted by Tilly. Yeah, she's busted bad by Tilly. I can't find it. She's busted bad by Tilly, and Tilly just knows that's not right, but tries to help. So she goes past the sleeping Elgin and gets out the tarot cards. And she passes them to Fatima to shuffle, And then she starts telling the story about how the tarot cards helped her. And then she deals. Now I was trying to see what cards she turned over. I couldn't see the front or really the bottom of them. So if you guys did see the tarot cards and you know what card she pulled, let me know. But as she asked Fatima what does she want to know, and Fatima says she wants to know if her baby's okay. At that moment, a crow flies straight through the window and into the second floor of the colony house. And I thought it was amazing how this guy just punches the hell out the crow, right out the damn ceiling, right? Just knocks it out. And the crow dies, right? After creating a mess and waking up Elgin. Now, this was a big deal because like I said, we did the 1503 theory with Taryn probably like over a year ago. And we were just talking about how 1506, sorry, we were just talking about how it seems like, that there's some other forces at play here, and they're going against each other, and it's a game and each person is a character on a tarot. And so that's kind of what we were thinking about. So if you guys want to get that deeper, you guys can definitely watch that, and maybe I'll do a live stream and go over that. But it basically says that, each person is a character, from Boyd being the fool. Of course, that will also mean someone have to be the devil, the man in black, the emperor, the lovers, like all the different cards. And so what I said on this episode of my review was that From, to me, is a big game of werewolf. So I don't know if you guys know what werewolf is, but it's pretty much a game played with 12 characters, and each character pretty much doesn't know who is the werewolf, and so you've got to find out who the werewolf is by like clues, right? And there's one person who does, and then you pretty much find and kill the werewolf. And to me, that's what it seems like. This whole town is a big game of werewolf, where some people are telling the truth, some people are looking for the truth, and some people are lying, right? That's, to me, that's how it kind of breaks down in what is going on in Fromville. So I might do a longer video on that. But here's some of the tarot references that we have from that video, and you can find a lot more. But we see things in the background, and we know everything is very purposeful on the show, from the clothes that the creators wear. And I've had interviews with people, and they've told me that the director or the creator specifically gave them this shirt, or it looked like, a shot was specifically shot in that fashion or cinematography to show something or give a clue, right? And so what they were saying was some of the cards and the crosses kind of matched up to what some of the characters were. But we go a lot deeper. Should be another picture on here. No, maybe I didn't put it on here, but it should be another picture of just the cards and what they all mean. And then, of course, it all goes into one of the biggest questions right now is where is Eloise? It's going too fast. Where is Eloise? A lot of people are talking about that. We've seen young Eloise, but we have not seen adult Eloise. And as soon as I saw that, I kind of realized that adult Eloise is either someone on the show that we've already seen, or is, to put it simply, it's Tabitha, right? And a lot of people can't take this answer, right? I mean, there's so many things that people say because of her accent, her ethnicity, the age difference, like they go on and on. But regardless of what we think of how it should be, it all boils down to what the writers wrote. And I believe that is the direction that the writers are writing it, especially because Tabitha going to the real world and not finding Eloise. I mean, everybody believed that she was going to find Eloise in the real world, right? They're like, yo, as soon as she wakes up from the hospital, she's going to go out on the streets and she's going to bump into this woman, and the woman's going to be Victor's sister, Eloise. But they introduced it with Henry. And now we know that she's back in Fromville and she has not found Eloise. That means that she is Eloise. That's the only theory. That's the only theory. But I don't know how they're gonna I don't know how they're going to explain it, but we've seen young Eloise, but we have not seen adult Eloise, and they wouldn't introduce that character that big, that many times without it being someone we already seen. And we talked about Thomas, who was on the phone. That was a huge cliffhanger. It was masterfully done. I mean, the possibilities of what that could have been were huge, right? Everybody. Hello, Sharon. Welcome to the stream. And Sharon said, I said this a while ago, Tabitha's Eloisa bracelet confirms it. I agree. And I mean, Jim is stressed out. I mean, this is a nightmare for Jim. I mean, that pretty much him talking to Thomas almost broke him. His energy was off all day. He was angry at Ethan, and he just dropped the phone to the point where he dropped the phone. But Ethan was patronizing him about stuff about his mom. But I think that Jim has a lot more guilt than we know, because I still don't understand why he was hanging upside down and in the tower. It still makes no sense. Oh yeah, exactly. Pet Cemetery, another Stephen King reference. Exactly, another Stephen King reference. And so, real quick too. So we pretty much went over. Well, this part I'll go over this part. I pretty much said I'm not. I believe the phone call with Jim is a distraction, right? I think everything with Jim is a distraction because, for one, they've talked to him before, right? They've talked to Jim before, and when they talk to him, we don't know why. We don't know why they talk to him. We don't know who, but they always tell him something, and we never understand why. So I figure it's going to be the same thing here, right? He talks to Thomas. Thomas is messing with him. We don't know. I still believe that the biggest thing to take away from that scene was that he drunk the water, right? Yeah, exactly. Jim represents the hangman tarot card when he's hanging upside down. Exactly. And so that was the biggest thing that I took away from Jim's phone call. That Jade also had a drink, and that Boyd also had a drink. And so the biggest takeaways are, why does Tabitha keep passing out? What the bracelet actually means, that she was never in the real world. It was still in Fromville. Is Randall's time up on the next episode? What the red rocks mean. And I thought this was a big scene too. I didn't mean to skip over Christy leg getting caught in the bear trap, but we see, Jade, go over and see this Puritan, who people are calling this Puritan. And they start fighting, but then the Puritan disappears, and Dale sees Jade pretty much choking himself, looking like a straight up crazy person choking himself. But to me, the rocks did not disappear, right? The rocks remain. So that lets me know that at least the rocks are real, because I'm still trying to figure out what's real and what's not. And then Christy gets her leg caught. Now I couldn't tell if this trap was placed after Jim and Kenny were at the Lost Village. I couldn't tell if that happened then, or if it was, a trap set decades ago. I didn't know. But it looked like it was something from something else, because remember, Jade walked off in the wrong direction. So he wasn't even going back towards the town when they stumbled upon this. And then Jade, breaks the totem to get the piece of steel for leverage. And, it pretty much means that something could come about him destroying the totems. So we don't know. So what else do you guys think about the episode? I want to play another video that I came across about From. I'll just bring it up in a second. All right. So if you guys, I pretty much interviewed a lot of the people from right. The only person I did not interview is Harold Pernod. And I'm starting to feel like he's avoiding me, right? I don't know, but I really want to talk to him, and I hope that I get a chance to interview him. He's one of my favorite actors. I really started watching the show just because he was on there, and so I'll play this interview. This was a really good interview. On this interview, I thought Boyd said something really interesting, and probably one of the most interesting things I've heard him say in a while. So this is on Joe Blow.
Every season, and I spoke to you back during season 2. I was a diehard Lost fan, and one of those things every season was, does the cast know what's going on? Do the writers know where this is going? And I wanted to ask you, with the complexity and the mythology growing around what is happening in this town, how much do you know about where this is going in the end?
I'm purposefully ignorant about what's going to happen in the end, and I'm being so trusting, and like when I talked to John Griffin, and when I talked to Jeff Pinkner, they were like, when we sold the show, we sold it with the ending.
Okay.
And they were like, they asked us, do you have an ending? We were like, yes, if you buy it, we'll tell you.
So that was big. That was big, right? When I heard that, right, that they had the ending in mind, and that they're working towards the ending, right? Because I guess they all were involved in different shows like Lost, and I'm sure they didn't have the ending in mind. And so when I heard him say that on this interview, it made me think, what they're all working towards. And I'm a big believer that the answer to the show was in season 1. I think I said that before. You guys might have heard that. I believe the ending to the show was in season 1. And so pretty much some of the early theories, somebody could have been correct, but that gave me a lot of assurance that we can figure this out before it ends, and what it was. And I think they're being pretty straightforward with some of the interview, with some of the direction that they lead us. That's what I was going to say. I'll play the rest of it. It's pretty short.
And so they've always had the ending, and I've always known that. That being said, because we have this condensed form, we're not like Lost with the 26 episode. We got 10 every season. And if we keep getting picked up, you know what I mean? I know that they know exactly where they're going, right?
Okay.
And so John always describes it like this. Say you're going from A to Z. You're always going to Z. If somewhere you go, oh, wow, that'd be a really cool turn at J to go this way and to go, from R to go over here. But we're always going to Z. We're never going anyplace else. Once he told me that, I was like, yeah, I'm really cool. Don't tell me until I have to know when we're at Z, because what I want to do is experience it as we're going. I want to experience it like the people watching it are going to experience it. Like, tell me like right before I go to do it. And so and luckily we did Lost. And so it gave me the facility to be able to do it like that. And so it's been really good.
One of the big things that I noticed that's different is Lost obviously was a network TV show. So there's certain limits. So even what I would consider like PG-13 material, there's a limit. But because gore and violence and even profanity, it feels more natural. So do you feel like not having those limits on how you can speak the dialogue and, dropping an F-bomb here and there, like there's a moment when you say, we're going to go get those motherfuckers. And it feels real.
Right.
Did you notice that difference on your side?
I do. Yeah, it does. It does feel real. We've played with it and sometimes said words and they go like, okay, I mean, that's a little too real. So we've had to pull it back. But yeah, that brings a certain kind of spontaneity and presentness to it. Like that, you know what I mean? That when you get to like say something or when you see something that's like, here's the thing. What I think the creative people do like after we shoot it is that they take some things and they'll show you all the explicit things and it's really terrible. And then sometimes they won't show you anything. And whatever's happening in your mind, That's the scariest thing about what's going on. And so I like that the playing back and forth between those things. We say some things, we show some things, we don't show other things, we don't say it, and then let you participate in a way. And that's actually, I think, really genius storytelling. I like it.
There's a scene like that I think really resonated because I've seen the first 5 episodes. I don't want to give any spoilers away. I'll just call it the barn scene where something messed up's happening, but it's on your face the whole time. And it's just, you have to convey all of that. What was it like filming that sequence?
I mean, it was really tricky because it really is just me. And, it's not one of those things that you want anybody to be going through, like on the other side of the camera, like, hey, could you do this thing while while the camera's at me? And so like I have to come up with lots of really horrific things to make you buy that scene. And it's I felt really honored that Jack entrusted me with that scene, like to just like we're gonna let the audience figure it out, and we're gonna come in and you're gonna let us know with your face what's happening. And so it's really cool, but really heartbreaking to do.
And, it's an amazing scene. I think that so far this season, it's deepening. Just like you said, I want to keep seeing what's going to happen. I can't wait for more to come.
Yeah.
I can't wait for everybody to check it out. Great season. And you are all-time best Mercutio ever. Brings a lot of the vibes of, I was a big fan.
Yeah, so I thought that was a really great interview. I thought he gave a lot of information, and he gave that assurance that we're going to work towards the ending. And also he said that they might take a couple of turns here and there. And I do believe there's a ton of red herrings, right? I believe that there's really only one storyline that is the main one, and that's Tabitha's. Everything else is pretty much a distraction because nobody wants to go home, right? And I asked this before, right? Boyd does not want to go home. Victor does not want to go home. Fromville is his home. Then also Jim does not want to go home because he's got his family there, right? Everybody there does not want to go home. Donna doesn't want to go home. I mean, really, even Julie and Ethan don't want to go home. They all just having fun. Ethan's happy with his goat, Alma. And Sarah's happy, like now that her brother's gone, they don't really talk about that. But yeah, you're right. The scene in the barn should be nominated. And I'm sure it will be. I mean, they've been knocking on the nominations doors for a while now. And I definitely think that they're going to win. He's going to win some acting awards, especially when he just said that, they weren't even doing anything in front of him. He portrayed that to us, just from his mind, right? That was amazing. So yeah, I definitely think it will be. And with Christopher, you said the drone was used improperly. Yeah, I agree. It was a toy though, like it had a little battery. The controls, the controls weren't that accurate. They weren't even. You're right. They didn't even attempt to do anything but Randall be an asshole with it, and so it wasn't anything that he could do. But yeah, they should have used that a lot better. Let's see. So, like I said, most of my stuff on my page, make sure you guys are following me. Make sure you guys are notified for when I drop my new videos. I saw Christopher say something about the interviews. Christopher said, I have no idea how you pay these interviews, but I must admit, it makes me happy every time. Well, thank you. I'm glad that it goes over well. It makes me happy as well. And I have another interview coming up this week. So I won't announce it just now, but I do have an interview coming up on Tuesday, but I might not be able to put it out until Wednesday. But make sure you guys are following me and get a notification, so when the interview goes live, you guys will be able to see who it is. But I got somebody else from the show, and we're gonna talk to them about From. And if you guys want to check out my interviews, they're listed here. I put them under podcasts. I saw that was like a new feature that YouTube had, and so I put them here under my podcast. But if you go over to the side, you can pretty much see. I don't know if I can make it bigger. You can see everybody that I interviewed. Let me see if I can make it bigger. But yeah, I interviewed Smiley, Scott McCord plays Victor, Donna, Elizabeth Saunders, Cortion Moore, AJ Simmons, Christy, Sarah, Ricky, Nathan. I did Jim and Tabitha. Oh, that's what I wanted to play real quick too. So
Hello, my
I
name
told
is
you
Evan.
guys earlier that the last question I asked them was Jim a villain, right? And I wanted you guys to hear his reaction.
Thing to be terrifying.
Sure, I hate them all. That's definitely true. The smile really quick, just one.
All right, here we go. So this is the part of the question that I was talking about when I asked Jim and Tabitha.
Quick question for Eon before we go. Your character Jim, is he a villain?
Oh.
I'm sure a villain to some. Is anybody ever really a villain? At least in their own mind.
Yeah, that's true.
Is anybody
Your character Jim.
So yeah, so I mean, look at their reaction. What do you guys think? I mean, I called this is, I put this video came out a while ago. It was actually the first From interview I did. And so I wasn't that really familiar with the cast. There was only one episode out that I seen, and I just got that vibe from the first one. So this was the question I asked.
Is he a villain?
Oh. I'm sure a villain to some. Is anybody ever really a villain?
And I'm guessing that's what the director told him. I'm guessing he said, Jim, your character's his family guy, but he's got something going on with him and he's a bad guy. I mean, I just see it. I don't know if you guys see it, but I definitely see it. And also, of course, I got a chance to talk to the wonderful.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jake.
The wonderful Elizabeth Moy.
The question I want to ask is, what did you think when you read or heard about what was going on with Tien in episode 1?
You said this place couldn't break you. That's what you said. Let's see. You're so strong. You're so strong. Just no. I know.
So many things. Yeah, I got the call in advance of shooting, right? So I think I had about 6 weeks notice.
Oh, okay.
SAG was still on strike, so we weren't filming. The writers' strike is already done by that time. So the 3 J's, Jack, John, the writer, Jack Bender, Jeff Pinkner, got me on the phone and told me the news. It was a hard news to receive, but they did such a way that I felt their love, I felt their compassion, I felt their encouragement, and they only doing this because they think it's impactful, right? They wouldn't do this.
This is turning into one of the biggest biggest moments in TV. I mean, people are gonna be talking about this for a long time, like just the way your character has been built up, right? And then we've all gravitated to it, then being taken away from us, right? I mean, like it is gonna be a top, 10 TV moment of all times, right? Remember the loss of Tien Chen? I mean, especially because we look at Kenny, right? He's lost his dad and then now his mom. And so now it's just like, whoa, that's a tough loss.
Mm-hmm. So it's and then in order to play those scenes, it's almost like I have to go through all those scenarios, what you talked about, because Tien Chen is so real to me now, right? Tien Chen is a real person. Yeah. And Kenny is her real son, and Jade is her real second son and Sarah,
Yeah.
you know, all those relationships, all the people in town, people that go through her diners, you know, she makes a point of talking to them and getting to know them, right? Even though she doesn't speak the language, but, you know, she knows a lot about what's going on, right? And so it's almost like it wasn't that difficult to play that because those are real.
Mhm.
And the death, it's so real,
Mhm.
right? So it's when after I took the news, once I accepted it, I welcomed it as a challenge.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, you know, part of my thought process was, you know, like I was thinking of which actor would play the death scene, and which actor's scenes, dying scene is believable. It's you know, heartbreaking, you know, all that stuff, right? So I've gone through that, and I just thought, you know what? I welcome this. This is going to be my challenge because this is my final scene. I have to die with 100%.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, it's like, you know, die with the dignity and give the best performance in that moment, you know, for that scene. You're right. I mean, because people is going to remember it. I mean, wow. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, everybody's been like placing bets online because the way the trailer came out, you couldn't tell, right? And we're trying to figure out whose shoes it is, whose foot is that, and, you know, looking at shoes and trying to find a picture of Tien's feet. There was none, right? So a lot of people didn't think it was her because they couldn't match the shoes up, but it started this whole like scavenger hunt to find out who it was. But the one scene that I think gave it away is when Boyd was carrying the body, right? It had to be somebody he could physically lift up. And that's why I said it has to be her, you know, fortunately. And then we saw it and it was, wow, it did not disappoint on the shock value. I mean, the thriller value and just the overall perception of Boyd having to be there, you know? And that's what I wanted to ask, you know, I feel like they're trying to break Boyd by getting to Kenny, right? And they're taking away things that Kenny has to hurt Boyd. So they're taking away Kenny's dad, you know, and then they're taking away Tien, you know. And how do you feel about, I guess, how does Tien feel about the relationship between Kenny and Boyd?
I think Tin Chan trusts Boyd. And I think Tin Chan trusts Kenny to live up to what she expects him to be. I think, you know, a lot of the memories, a lot of the things that Tin Chan built for Kenny, it's hoping that he would do the right thing. You know, she encourages him to be a good sheriff, right? In one scene, you know, she said to Kenny, "Go do your job. Go ring the bell," when Boyd was away, and go be a good sheriff. So I think she wants him to have that high standard of what doing the right thing is. So I think, you know, it's doing that scene was heartbreaking. It truly was. And yeah, I think doing the last scene that we had, a lot of people on set actually cried.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, I can believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, losing one of the beloved cast members that we've been following and that they've been working with, you know, for so long, I'm sure it was emotional. I'm sure, but your character might be gone from the show, but will live in our hearts forever.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to go through a couple of videos with you guys, man. Show you guys my page. Make sure you guys were following and let you guys hear the news that I got that interview coming on Tuesday. So I'll release that on Wednesday, and of course I'll be doing another trailer for season 4, well, episode 4 on Wednesday. So make sure you guys notified for that. And then, of course, Sunday we'll be back with trivia. So look, I really appreciate you guys for hanging out with me for 2.5 hours. But now we're definitely going to reset and get back into watching some reruns of From. But look, you guys can always contact me on my page, and make sure you guys are following me on my Facebook page. I know my man Christopher just followed me on Facebook because if I get a certain amount of followers on there, I can also go live on there so we can just expand and expand. So, of course, I appreciate you guys, and it's always wonderful to talk about From. And I will see you guys next week on the next episode of From. All right, guys, take care. Thanks for playing along.